Hi guys, today we're going to be going over how to make your grout white again with a grout pen. And that includes tips for you on how to make dark grout lighter, how to make sure that liquid in the grout pen is going to really stick to your grout and last a long time, and the easy steps to use it. So let's get started. As you can see here, my grout is looking pretty dingy. I'd say this is like a medium gray color at this point, and I really want it to look white again. I decided to try this grout pen that I found on Amazon's website because it had good reviews. I ended up buying these 3 pens here for this room, but I only actually used 1.5 pens, and that was after doing 2 coats. So I hope that gives you a good idea of how much you're going to need. This grout pen is available in a narrow tip and a wide tip. I'm using narrow tip here. As you can see, my grout lines are pretty thin. If you have older tile, back then they used to install it with a much wider grout line, so you should probably go for that wider tipped grout pen. Over the last few years, I've tried a few different types of these grout paints or grout colorants. And if you read the reviews on these products, every once in a while you'll see a comment where someone says that the paint has peeled off after a while, that it didn't last very long, that it kind of rubbed off or peeled off. And that is going to be due to the way that you've prepped your grout before you ever apply the paint. So no matter what one you're using, you need to have clean grout that does not have built up oils and grease on it, and it doesn't have a recent application of sealer on it. Grout sealer can prevent that color from sticking to your grout. The product recommends using water on your grout to see if it soaks into the grout or if it sits on top of it, sort of like a water bubble on top of the grout. If it sits on top of it like a water bubble, that means that your sealant is probably still really working, and you need to use something to remove that sealant if you need to recolor your grout. There are store-bought products that you can use that will remove the grout sealers so that you can make sure that the paint inside of the grout pen is going to stick to that grout really well. And over the years, I've made a lot of videos testing different cleaning hacks that I see online. One of them was using vinegar to clean your tile and grout. And I noticed that when I tried this on my floor, that vinegar was stripping off the grout paint that I had on my kitchen floor, and it was stripping off the sealer too. And I've also noticed that when I use the grout cleaning attachment on my steam mop, it does strip off the grout paint too. Grout paint has a built-in sealer, so if it's stripping off that grout paint, it's stripping away the sealer too. So it's possible that you could use vinegar or a steam mop with a grout cleaning attachment to strip away some of that sealer and make sure that you get a good bond between the grout pen and your grout. Now, I want to be sure to say that the steam mop in general, if you're just using the floor cleaning part of your steam mop to clean your floor, that's not going to damage your grout sealer. It's only when that high heated steam is pointed straight at your grout in a tiny stream that it's going to be strong enough to remove your grout sealer. Cleaning your floor with a steam mop is great. It's going to disinfect your floor and it's not going to damage your grout, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now that we know that your grout is prepped and ready for this grout pen, let's talk about the steps to use it. I like to use a broom or a vacuum to make sure I'm removing anything that's loose that's on top of that tile surface. And then I use my steam mop to make sure that tile and grout is really clean and I've removed any oils or lotions or anything else that might be sitting on the surface of your grout and blocking a good bond between that grout pen and the grout. Another reason why I really like the steam mop for prepping your floor for this project is because it's not going to leave any cleaning residue behind on your grout. So there are certain floor cleaners that people can use, or soaps even, that might leave a residue behind on your grout. And again, we don't want anything that's left on the surface of that grout that's going to prevent that grout pen paint from sticking to your grout. If you ended up using a steam mop or another wet cleaner on your floor before you started this project, let that grout dry as much as possible before you start using your grout pen. To get the paint inside of your grout pen down to the tip, you do need to press down onto a surface. I like to use cardboard 30 times. They say 30 times, but sometimes it's as easy as just 10 times until you start to see a little bit of paint coming out of that tip. Then you're ready to start using that grout pen on your grout. All you need to do is drag that grout pen across your grout. You don't want to press too hard because that will fray or kind of ruin the bottom of your grout pen tip. You don't really need to press very hard for this. It's kind of just like a light drag across. You want to make sure that you're getting the grout paint onto your grout, but you don't have to worry. If you have darker grout like I do here, or even darker than mine, you don't have to worry about covering it all in one coat because it's really not going to work that way. For darker grout colors, if you want to make that grout white again, you're going to need to do multiple coats. So you're going to be putting one coat on your grout and then come back later after it's dried to do a second or maybe even a third coat for really dark grout colors. But don't worry, using this grout pen is the fastest option that I've tried so far. So I've used Grout Refresh from Lowe's and I found that product was really complicated to use. It had a lot of steps and it didn't have very good results in my opinion. My favorite product up until now has been Grout Renew from Home Depot. I really loved the results with Grout Renew, but since it didn't come with an applicator like this Grout Pen, I always had to find something to apply it with. It was just a little bit more complicated, and I was always rubbing off excess off of the tile around it. So I have to say, so far, the Grout Pen is the easiest one that I've found to use to make my grout white again. Every once in a while, you are going to need to press down on the tip of that pen again to load it up with more paint. That's going to be something that you're going to do the whole time that you're using it on your floor. If you feel like it's run out of paint, always make sure that you're pressing down on the tip of that at least 30 times to be sure that it's really out of the paint. I saw a few comments in the reviews on this product that said that they ran out of paint way too fast, and I wonder if that person just wasn't pressing down on the tip repeatedly, loading it back up with the paint, and making sure that they've used all of the product before they throw the marker out. Because as I said, I did 2 coats on my floor that you see here with just 1.5 markers. So I feel like that product went a long way for me. After using this Grout Pen, it says that it is touch dry in 5 minutes, but you do need to wait 6 hours before you get it wet. So if you're using this in a shower or on a bathroom floor, or even in a kitchen in front of your sink, you just want to make sure it cures properly before it gets wet. That's it for how to make grout white again. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I do try to answer them whenever I get a chance. All right, bye guys.